The Autopsy of Yu Menglong. What no one told about the actor who defied an empire. They called him the perfect son of China's entertainment era. Kind, quiet, disciplined, the kind of man people trusted without question. But behind those calm eyes, Yu Menglong carried something that years later would shake the nation to its core. On the morning of September 11th, 2025, headlines erupted across Chinese media. Actor Yu Menglong dies in accidental fall. Police said he had been drinking. They said he slipped. The case was closed before the public had even begun to grieve. But within hours, whispers filled the internet because the story did not sound right. And what those whispers revealed was not an accident at all. The police report came out faster than anyone expected. It was a few short lines claiming Yu had fallen from a high-rise balcony inside the Sunshine Upper East compound in Beijing. They blamed alcohol, calling it a tragic misstep of a tired celebrity. Yet something felt rehearsed. Fans noticed that every related post on Weibo disappeared almost instantly. Comments questioning the case were blocked in real time. Even Yu's official fan pages were forced into silence. And then came the first leak. An anonymous user posted a document titled Autopsy Leak, Dead Before the Fall. Within minutes, it spread like wildfire. The report claimed Yu's injuries did not match those of a man who had fallen from a tall building. There were no shattered legs. There was no compressed spine. There were none of the classic fractures expected from such an impact. Instead, the leaked details described something far worse. There were deep bruises on his wrists and neck shaped like restraint marks. There was a puncture wound on his left thigh, allegedly from a neurotoxic injection. His blood alcohol level was 3 times the lethal limit, yet there was no strong odor of alcohol. Sedative traces were mixed into his stomach contents. And under his fingernails, foreign male DNA was found that did not belong to him. But the detail that silenced everyone who read the leak was the line about his abdomen being cut open and then sewn back shut. The document described the incision as precise, deliberate, and post-mortem. One man, claiming to be a relative of the forensic team, said his family was threatened to keep quiet. He wrote, "When I saw the body, I cried. What he went through before death was not human." The rumor took on a life of its own, and the phrase "dead before the fall" began trending faster than censors could erase it. Hours before Yu's death, there had been a private dinner, 17 guests in total. Officially, it was a meeting about a new film project. Unofficially, it was something far darker. Among those present were producer Xin Qi, one of the most powerful figures in Chinese cinema, and businesswoman Tian Xiang, heir to a massive fortune linked to the fallen Bo Xilai network. Sources later claimed the dinner had nothing to do with cinema. It was a money laundering meeting moving tens of billions of dollars through film investments and overseas shell companies. Yu, who had been invited as an artistic ambassador, reportedly realized what was happening. He refused to take part. According to leaks later circulated on Telegram channels, he secretly recorded the entire dinner, saving the files on a small USB drive he always carried. That single decision, many believe, sealed his fate. Because by the next morning, Yu Menglong was dead. According to one anonymous medical report, his stomach had been cut open as if someone had been searching for something hidden inside. Was it a coincidence? Or was it a desperate attempt to recover that missing USB drive? No one knows for sure. But from that point forward, even veteran journalists said the story stopped feeling like gossip and started sounding like a cover-up. To understand the scale of this case, we need to look at the man standing quietly behind the curtain, Xin Qi. In public, he is known as a brilliant young producer, the visionary behind several box office hits. But according to multiple reports, Xin Qi is also the illegitimate son of Kai Qi, a senior member of the Chinese Communist Party Secretariat. His mother, Tian Haiyan, is the sister of the wealthy Tian Xiang, the same woman from that final dinner. That family network connects entertainment, business, and politics into a single web of power. They own the management company Tianyu Media, the only state-controlled agency handling artists at that level. Both Yu Menglong and Xiaoren Liang, another actor who died mysteriously in 2016, were signed under it. To many observers, the pattern felt too familiar. One agency, two actors, two unexplained deaths. Some journalists even called Xin Qi the invisible boss of the industry, the man no one could refuse. And he was the one who refused. By September 14th, more fragments of the autopsy began surfacing. They came from overseas news sites, encrypted chat rooms, and even screenshots in private fan groups. Piece by piece, a terrifying picture formed. First, there was the thigh injection. Forensic results allegedly found a concentrated dose of neurotoxins designed to cause paralysis within minutes. Second, there was the blood analysis. It showed an ethanol concentration 3 times higher than fatal, yet no odor on the body, implying he did not drink voluntarily. It had been administered. Third, gastric traces revealed liquor blended with dissolved sedatives, possibly poured in after he was incapacitated. Fourth, the bruises aligned perfectly around the wrists and neck, marks made by rope or cuffs, not from impact trauma. Fifth, subdermal hemorrhages along the torso showed he had been beaten before death. Sixth, foreign DNA found beneath his nails was of male origin with identity unknown. And finally, there was the abdominal incision, carefully done and later stitched, resembling a search wound more than an injury. One expert, whose testimony appeared briefly online before deletion, stated that it looked as if someone had opened him, searched, and then closed him again. When compared to the government's version, a simple alcohol accident, the contrast was staggering. And yet no official channel ever confirmed or denied these details. Instead, they silenced the topic altogether. On September 19th, the story took an even stranger turn. Social media posts began connecting Yu's death to superstitious rituals inside elite political circles. Commentators noticed coincidences in birth dates. President Xi Jinping, born June 15, 1953. Yu Menglong, born June 15, 1988, exactly 35 years apart. And actor Xiaoren Liang, dead under similar circumstances, was born October 15th, the same day as Xi's father. Rumors suggested these alignments were too precise to ignore as Xi's health reportedly declined. Some speculated that birthday matches were used for ritual sacrifices meant to extend life or transfer misfortune. Of course, no solid evidence has ever supported that theory. But inside China, where public discussion of a leader's health is taboo, even coincidences can feel dangerous. The posts were deleted within hours. Accounts were banned. Yet the damage was done. Millions had already seen them. For many, the question was no longer how Yu Menglong died, but why his death provoked such an extreme reaction from the state. By September 20th, the censorship machine was in full motion. The Cyberspace Administration of China issued direct orders to major platforms, accusing them of spreading harmful gossip. Behind the scenes, insiders leaked a chilling 12-character directive from top leadership. Do not pay attention. Do not focus. Quickly resolve. Those words appeared again and again in deleted screenshots before vanishing entirely. A popular blogger known online as Lin B1 shared the phrase with his followers. Hours later, he disappeared. When he resurfaced 17 hours afterward, his account, posts, and comments had been wiped from existence. At the same time, a heartbreaking video surfaced. It showed Yu Menglong's parents kneeling outside a Beijing police station, begging for justice, while officers stood motionless behind the glass doors. Their cries echoed through the night until the clip was deleted as well. By then, Yu's name had become forbidden. Typing it on Weibo returned an error message. Content unavailable due to legal reasons. But the more they erased, the louder the whispers grew. And in that silence, one phrase united millions. Dead before the fall. It started as a story about a fall, but what the world was now uncovering felt more like a message written in blood. Because behind that quiet young actor's death was a trail of fear, secrecy, and power. And the deeper you look into his autopsy, the clearer it becomes. This was no ordinary tragedy. In the days that followed Yu Menglong's death, the country changed its face. What began as gossip on social media transformed into one of the most heavily censored events in modern Chinese pop culture. The official line was clear. There would be no discussion, no mourning, no truth. But the silence itself spoke louder than anything the government could have said. By September 20th, nearly every mention of Yu's name had vanished from the Chinese internet. Weibo search results returned the phrase, "This topic violates community guidelines." Fan groups with millions of members were dissolved overnight. Entire threads were replaced by posts about cooking recipes and travel. It was an algorithmic erasure of grief. Inside Beijing's cyberspace administration, a leaked memo listed his name beside 3 words. Class A incident. That classification is reserved for topics threatening national unity or political stability. An actor's death had suddenly become a matter of state security. 2 identical statements were sent to Weibo and Kuaishou, accusing them of spreading celebrity gossip harmful to social order. But a second secret directive surfaced, the same 12-character order allegedly from the top leadership. Do not pay attention. Do not focus. Quickly resolve. Those words turned into an omen. Each time the phrase appeared online, accounts disappeared. Lin B1, a popular blogger known for exposing censorship, shared it with his followers. Hours later, he was gone. There were 17 hours of silence before he returned without his posts, his comments, or his voice. Around the same time, a heartbreaking clip appeared briefly online. It showed Yu Menglong's parents kneeling outside a police station, their hands pressed together, begging for justice. Behind them, uniformed officers stood still, their faces blank, refusing to open the doors. The clip spread to more than 10 million views before deletion. Within 48 hours, even the words Menglong and Minglong triggered content bans. Internet moderators were ordered to filter any mention of the Sunshine Upper East compound. Users began writing his name backwards or replacing characters with emojis, trying to keep his memory alive. But every coded message that survived for an hour was deleted the next. Just when the suppression seemed complete, a new fragment surfaced. It was a peephole video, grainy, distorted, but real. It showed Yu Menglong walking slowly down a corridor, flanked by several men. Behind them, a woman followed, holding up a phone to record. Viewers froze the frames, enhanced the shadows, and claimed the wrist strap on her phone matched one owned by actress Song Yiren. Yu's posture looked wrong. His head tilted forward. His steps were mechanical. His movements were sluggish. To millions, he did not look drunk. He looked drugged. And if that video was authentic, it might have captured the last moments before he died. Hours later, a farewell note appeared on an overseas forum. I hear footsteps outside. The shadows are closer. They will silence me. Authorities never confirmed its origin, but its tone mirrored things Yu had said years before. In one old interview, he confessed, "When I was 25, they already threatened me." If those threats were real, that letter was not poetry. It was prophecy. Investigators tried to retrieve footage from the building's security cameras. But every file from that night was missing. Maintenance logs showed no power outage and no data corruption. Then another leak appeared, a recording from the building's security guards. In it, they whispered that the property management company belonged to Shin Chi's family. He was the same producer accused of manipulating artists. Even the real estate developer behind the Sunshine Upper East compound was allegedly part of the same network. If true, that would explain everything. It would explain why there was no video. It would explain why the police never released footage. It would explain why no witnesses came forward. Some guards also claimed signal jamming equipment had been used that night, cutting phone service for residents. People tried to call the police, but their phones displayed no network. By then, it was not just about one actor's death. It was about how deep the control went, from the morgue to the media, from social networks to the streets themselves. The official autopsy was never published. The family was told they would receive the body only after signing a confidentiality agreement. Yu's ashes were delivered under police escort in silence. As the story vanished from Chinese servers, independent journalists abroad began connecting dots. Their reports spoke of a wider moral decay inside the Communist Party, a chain of corruption stretching back decades. They described an internal culture where money, influence, and desire intertwine. They described a world where politicians maintained secret harems of singers and actresses, and where generals in the People's Liberation Army rewarded subordinates with women instead of medals. According to these accounts, the party had long blurred the line between entertainment and obedience. Artists were not merely performers. They were currency. Under this lens, Yu Menglong's story became symbolic. He was the artist who refused to play by the hidden rules. He turned down invitations. He ignored advances. He avoided private banquets disguised as business meetings. And in doing so, he embarrassed the wrong people. When he recorded that final dinner and walked away, he did not just expose a financial scheme. He violated an unspoken law. Never make the powerful lose face. To critics, that single act transformed him from celebrity to liability. And once you become a liability in a system built on secrecy, you cease to exist. By the end of September, two realities coexisted. Reality one was the state's version. A drunk accident. No foul play. Case closed. Reality two was the people's version. Torture. Corruption. A staged death. Between those realities lay an information war. Those who questioned the official story were branded as foreign agents. Dozens of fan accounts were suspended for spreading disinformation. Even memorial pages turned into battlegrounds of algorithms and grief. Meanwhile, the phrase, "dead before the fall," re-emerged on foreign platforms. It became more than a theory. It became a movement. For millions of young Chinese living abroad, Yu's case mirrored their own loss of faith in official narratives. They printed the phrase on shirts, graffiti walls, and online petitions. It stood for every silenced journalist, every vanished blogger, and every truth hidden behind firewalls. Inside China, users found creative ways to remember him, posting moon emojis or numbers like 615, his birthday, instead of his name. Each symbol was a small rebellion, a reminder that memory itself had become resistance. As censorship grew inside China, international coverage exploded. Foreign outlets translated the leaked autopsy details and the farewell note, debating whether they were authentic. Even without proof, the sheer intensity of suppression convinced many that something was wrong. In the West, Yu Menglong's death became a case study in how truth and rumor blur under authoritarian control. Experts called it a perfect storm of grief, censorship, and digital paranoia. Some analysts compared it to other mysterious celebrity deaths in China, cases that were quickly ruled accidents only to vanish from archives months later. To them, Yu's case was not unique. It was part of a pattern. Yet for the people who loved him, the details did not matter as much as the silence that followed. Because silence in China has meaning. It is policy. Months passed. The algorithms moved on. But the phrase "dead before the fall" refused to die. It resurfaced every few weeks in coded posts, art exhibits, and overseas protests. In the diaspora, Yu became a symbol of all those who vanish under unexplained circumstances. Artists, journalists, and scientists whose deaths are wrapped in neat official statements. For some, he represented the courage to say no in a world where obedience means survival. For others, he became a warning. The truth itself can be fatal. Within China, very few dare to mention him openly. But his image, eyes half smiling and half sad, still circulates quietly in private group chats. Every time someone shares that photo, it is an act of defiance. Because remembering him is remembering what was done to him. In the end, Yu Menglong was cremated in a closed ceremony. No full autopsy report was ever released. No investigation was reopened. No arrests were made. Officially, the cause of death remains accidental fall due to alcohol intoxication. But unofficially, his story continues to haunt millions. Because the details, those bruises, the injection mark, and the cut abdomen refuse to fade. They live on in screenshots, whispers, and memories that the state cannot erase. When you strip away the politics, what remains is something deeply human. A young man who may have stood against power. A family begging for truth. And a nation learning that silence can kill more effectively than bullets. Whether Yu Menglong died by accident or by design may never be proven. But one fact is undeniable. His story exposed the fragile boundary between truth and fear. Because when a single actor's death can shake an empire, you realize that the empire itself is built on silence. And sometimes silence is the loudest evidence of all.